Without adequate funding to cover pandemic-related costs, 2 schools for First Nation students in Northern Ontario will remain closed until at least the end of October. The Nishnawabe Aski Nation, which represents 49 First Nations in Ontario, is asking the federal government for $33 million to help safely open its schools, including the 2 schools forced to postpone reopening. Deputy Grand Chief Derek Fox is joining us this morning. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Okay, so let's break down the numbers here. The Nishnawabe Aski Nation serves 9,000 elementary and secondary students across the First Nations it represents. How will this funding help students?
It will help our students the way it's helping our students in many of the cities and provinces across the country. Our understanding is that $2 billion was given to the provinces from the federal government, a large amount to the province of Ontario, to the schools and school boards, and that's going to provide PPE. It's going to provide sanitary supplies and of course, the additional costs for teachers, mental health, nurses, whatever may be needed for the safe reopening of our schools.
I just mentioned, 2 of your schools have postponed reopening until late October. Are these schools or any others you represent at risk of closing indefinitely if you don't receive funding?
They're definitely at risk of closing indefinitely. Currently, Dennis Franklin Cromarty High School and Pelican Falls Center in Sullicote area are pushing their start dates back to the second quadmester, they call it. October 28th is the date of that. And from now until that date, they're going to resort to online learning, which is, if you know the First Nations of Nishnawabe Aski Nation, 32 of the 49 First Nations are remote. We don't have broadband. We don't have a good connection, high-speed internet. And so the ability for our students to even connect to online is going to be, they're going to have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, we were just speaking with our previous guest, Laura, who was talking about that, the accessibility. And even if you do have the broadband or access to internet, it costs money to use those services. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles. How are the students coping right now? What are you hearing from families?
Our students, like many of the students in the cities, have been cooped up. They've been hiding from this COVID, trying to stay safe, social distancing, and they've, like many of us, are struggling with mental health and just excited to get back to school, get back to seeing their friends, get back to seeking a higher education like many of us have wanted, many of us want for our children. So the fact that they have not been supported by the federal government, the fact that they have not been given any kind of funds to ensure that their return to school is safe, affects them even more. So, they're just going to have to get through this tough time. And many of our partners have worked hard to ensure that we did this plan. We submitted a plan in early July, many months ago, to the federal government. We did this well ahead of time, and certainly no response whatsoever from them. And we're hopeful that in the coming days and weeks at best, that they respond to us and ensure that our students are treated equally, or treated with equity, and not looked at as an afterthought, as they currently are.
And you really, all of us just think that should be the baseline, right? All of our students right across the country should be treated equally and fairly. Deputy Grand Chief Derek Fox, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I should mention we requested comment from Indigenous Services Canada on the status of the funding, and we did not hear back.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.